They found the python in the drum after she disappeared. It was dead, bloated, and rotten, but even then, the water still smelled faintly sweet. People stood around in silence, their faces pale as they stared into the drum. I wanted to vomit. I had eaten her food almost every day. Mama Kemi was the best cook in our town. Her stall wasn't flashy, just a wooden table, some pots, and a small stove. But the food she made was like nothing else. Her soups were rich, her stews perfectly spiced, and her rice had a sweetness that lingered on your tongue long after the plate was empty. People would travel from nearby villages just to buy her food. Her hands are blessed, they'd say. Some called her food magic, but it was always in a joking way. Nobody thought it was real magic. I started eating there after my uncle recommended it. Her egusi soup will change your life, he said, laughing. And it did. The first time I tasted it, I was hooked. I'd never had food like that before. It wasn't just delicious, it was addictive. Even when I wasn't hungry, I found myself craving it. But then strange things started happening. One evening, as I sat eating my usual plate of jollof rice, I overheard two women talking in hushed voices. "Did you hear about Busy's husband?" one said. "He's been eating from Mama Kemi's stall every day. Now he can't eat anyone else's food, not even Busy's." The other woman gasped. "Are you serious? What kind of cooking does that?" They both laughed nervously, but I couldn't shake what they said. I'd noticed something similar myself. Whenever I tried eating at another stall, the food tasted bland, almost bitter. It wasn't just me. Friends of mine who ate at Mama Kemi's said the same thing. The rumors got worse. People started saying Mama Kemi had a special water she used for cooking. Some claimed they'd seen her fetching it late at night from a drum behind her house. They said the water was what made her food so sweet and irresistible. I didn't believe it. I liked Mama Kemi. She was kind and hardworking, always smiling and calling everyone my child. But the whispers didn't stop. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to find out the truth. After her store closed, I followed her home. She lived in a small house at the edge of town, surrounded by bushes and tall trees. I hid behind a tree and watched as she carried a pot to the backyard. She stopped in front of a large metal drum, its surface rusted and dented. She lifted the lid and dipped the pot inside, humming softly as she walked. Then I saw it, a flicker of movement. Something inside the drum was alive. I crept closer, holding my breath. And then I saw it. A python. It was massive, its body coiled tightly at the bottom of the drum. Its scales shimmered in the moonlight, and its head rested just above the water. The python barely moved, but its eyes were open, watching Mama Kemi as she fetched the water. She didn't seem afraid at all. I stumbled back, my foot snapping a twig. Mama Kemi froze and turned sharply, her eyes locking onto mine. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice calm but cold. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my room, my heart pounding and my mind racing. The next day, I couldn't bring myself to eat her food. I told my uncle what I'd seen, but he just laughed. "You must have been dreaming," he said. But I knew what I saw. A week later, Mama Kemi's stall was empty. She had vanished overnight, leaving behind her pot and stove. Nobody knew where she went. Some said she ran away after someone threatened to expose her. Others whispered that the python had finally turned on her. That's when they found the drum. It was still in her backyard, hidden among the bushes. The smell hit us before we even got close, sickly sweet, like rotten fruit. Inside, the python lay dead, its body swollen and discolored. The water was thick and dark, but if you leaned in close, you could still catch that faint, sweet smell. For days, Nobody in town talked about anything else. The market was quiet, and people avoided Mama Kemi's stall like it was cursed. I stopped eating street food altogether after that. No matter how hungry I got, I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone else's cooking. Even now, years later, I still dream about that python, its unblinking eyes staring at me from the bottom of the drum. And when I wake up, I can almost taste the sweetness of her food on my tongue.